Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about suffering in this video and how suffering can indeed build character. So, for me personally, once I had my first Kundalini experience in my early 20s, my life was flipped upside down, and pretty much everything that I thought I knew up until that point was turned completely just upside down again. And it made me completely change who I was and what I thought about the world in the flash of an eye. And what was so jarring about that was that it completely took my foundation that I had built about the world and myself and destroyed it. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, Kundalini can be incredibly dangerous, especially mentally, because it can completely shake you out of the foundation that you've built about the world around you, how you view yourself, what you believe to be true. The mind is a very fragile thing, especially in this crazy world where we've been so separated from the truth that we develop these safeguard mechanisms mentally to protect us from really being able to. We build these filters, ladies and gentlemen, and these filters keep out a lot of very intense information. And it is a safeguard to keep us feeling sane in this crazy world. Now, Kundalini comes along and it takes that filter off and it shows you the blood raw truth. Now, many people may say that this is a bad thing. Kundalini is not a bad thing. However, it is a dangerous thing because it removes the filter that you view reality through. And it shows you how a lot of the programs and views that you have about the world are not genuine. You didn't develop them yourself. You developed them in response to stimuli from this material world. You developed belief systems from, a lot of us actually develop the majority of our most concrete beliefs. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, or know this or not, excuse me. Apparently I can't speak today, but many of us develop our most concrete as well as our most detrimental beliefs about the world and ourselves by age 10. And we all know that when you believe something with every fiber of your being, it instructs your subconscious mind to create the world around you. I'm not going to get into that in this video. I've talked about that extensively in prior videos. But essentially, the subconscious mind is indeed the key to the law of attraction. So based on the beliefs that you've structured about yourself and the world up until age 10, you are now creating that world around you based on those beliefs. I hope that makes sense. I don't have time to get into it in detail. You can check out my videos here on YouTube if you're interested in hearing me talk about the subconscious mind more. When you believe something with every fiber of your being, it instructs the subconscious mind to create that reality. So most of us have a lot of religious indoctrinating that has programmed us. A lot of us have beliefs about ourselves and the world that were handed to us by our parents, by our friends and their parents, by our teachers. Now, this is not to say that those people were necessarily wrong or that, religion is a bad thing. But I am here to say that oftentimes the beliefs that we accepted, we didn't create them ourselves, and therefore they're not our own thoughts. They're not a belief system that we've created. They're something from the outside that we accepted, and we are allowing it to affect the inside. I hope that makes sense. Kundalini, ladies and gentlemen, is a very real thing. And a lot of people contact me wanting to experience this energy. And although I can understand their desire to experience this energy, I don't think most people, including I didn't know at the time when I experienced it, I don't think most people want to deal with the repercussions that may come from experiencing full-blown Kundalini Christ consciousness. It can lead to absolutely massive states of, delirium is one of them, but depersonalization and derealization. derealization and depersonalization is when your body and your mind are out of alignment. They don't feel in sync. You're not grounded, and you feel like you're in multiple worlds at once. So many people go through something known as Kundalini Psychosis. Maybe we'll title the video Kundalini Psychosis. I've talked about this subject in previous videos, but I've never really gone into detail about it with its own video. So maybe, again, Kundalini Psychosis. And, people might be saying, well, why the hell are you talking about the magic of Kundalini if there's so many symptoms and this and that? Just because something poses danger to certain people doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Are internal combustion vehicles bad because people steer them incorrectly or drink when they drive? No. Kundalini is not an inherently evil thing. It's only dangerous to the mind that doesn't want to let go of what's holding them back. It's only dangerous to the mind that doesn't want to integrate new information. It's only dangerous to the mind that wants to fight, kick, and scream to hold on to the belief systems that they've molded in their psyche, that they view the world through. Most people look at reality and themselves through the lens of their belief systems and what they've accumulated in the form of beliefs from the outside world. I hope that makes sense. Again, apparently my mouth is not keeping up with my mind. I didn't get enough sleep or something last night. Who knows? Maybe I just haven't had enough coffee. So let's get kind of personal. In my early 20s, on the cusp of Easter, I was standing in my room, stretching, lifting light weights, and listening to soft music, when I had the sudden urge to lay on the floor on my yoga mat and put myself in a position known as Sarvagasana. This is known to the Westerner as a shoulder stand. And maybe I'll put a picture on the screen right now of what that looks like, but I laid down on the floor and I threw myself, into the shoulder stand position. And I sat there kind of stretching my spine out and elongating my legs and really unloading the pressure in my back by stretching it and whatnot. And it felt really good. And after a while of doing that while the music was playing, and I had the lights dimmed. I think I had a candle lit at the time. And in fact, I know I did. And I had a pink Himalayan salt basket in the corner on my altar. So the vibes were really pretty nice, or the energy in the room was really calm. But after a while of hanging out in this position, which is probably one of the most beneficial things to do if you're interested in stretching, is properly administered shoulder stands. Just to throw that in. But after a while of holding the shoulder stand, I began to sense this immense heat in my pelvic floor. It was just absolutely noticeable. And what was crazy about it is it began to increase in heat so rapidly that it took my breath out of my chest. I was starting to become afraid. I didn't know what to think because this energy made itself present in my coccyx, my coccygeal church, as Samael Anwar, the famous author about Kundalini and Gnosis, would call the pelvic region the coccygeal church. But let me see if I can find something really quick, guys. I was trying to find a particular name of a title of something I wanted to share with you about Samael Anwar, but we'll talk about that later. Great author. I'm just going to throw that out there. But what frightened me about this experience is that the heat in my coccyx, in my pelvic floor, began to rise so much and so fast that it scared the living hell out of me. I literally thought I was going to spontaneously combust. The only thing I could, and I've thought about this for years, how I would describe the heat in my coccyx. I would describe it like taking 100 million really fine-pointed needles that were red hot and having them come together and hit the tip of my coccyx. It was almost like some type of spiritual fire acupuncture going on. And the heat got so intense that I thought I was going to explode. So I jumped up out of the shoulder stand and stood up on my feet. And right when I stood up on my feet, that's when the energy reversed polarities and it almost like imploded upon itself, the heat, and shot up my spine. And it elongated, it forced my spine into a position it had never been in before. It elongated the discs in my back and completely took over my cerebral spinal system as well as my musculoskeletal system. It forced my body into a completely alien posture. And I don't mean a strange posture like some weird yoga position. I was standing upright in a quote unquote standing position, but I had never stood like this before. My muscles in my legs and my thighs shook violently as they kind of readjusted themselves and locked into a new position in conjunction with my spine and the muscles in my back. Everything in my body was forced into a new position. And once I reached that new posture, where I had to have been an inch or so taller than I normally am. As crazy as that may sound, now hold on to that thought, because I don't want you to think that that I sound crazy. I can explain this. I was forced into a new position, and once I was in that position, the Kundalini took over my body, readjusted all my muscles and my blood vessels and everything, and my spine and my ganglia. And once everything was readjusted, that's when the Kundalini energy started moving slowly through slower through my system, and I began to experience the opening of the flowers, the lotuses of the chakras. I hope that makes sense. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to explain something that I can visualize it and put my mind back into this situation, but it's hard for me to explain these things with words. And I wish I could, and I think I've gotten a lot better with it, but this is such an alien form of consciousness that we've fallen so far from understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, with this energy moving through your system, you have no limitations. You become God. And I know many people are going to have a huge issue with that. But you've forgotten who you are, ladies and gentlemen. You have spiritual amnesia. Now, people might be saying, oh, it took over your body, blah, blah, blah. How is that a good thing? That sounds like a demonic possession. Ladies and gentlemen, there are so many things taking place in your physiology right now that your mind has no control over. Who are you to say? And how dare you say that the Kundalini is some demonic spirit because it rewired my back, or that it shook my spine into a new position where I could actually, be the way I was designed to be. It's amazing how many people out here are trying to right now say that Kundalini is some demonic spirit. It just shows me how unexperienced you actually are in this field. I've spent the last 10 years of my life studying this. And in fact, I was studying it before I even experienced it, because I always, since I was a young boy, thought that there was something else, that there was more to being a human. We are all the byproduct, ladies and gentlemen, of being a child who was told to stop playing. We have had obligations, tasks, and all this other stupid shit put on us. And we have to abide by these laws here in this world. And there's so many things I wish I could say. There's so many damn things on the tip of my tongue that just aren't coming out right, which I wish I could articulate eloquently. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep doing my best. I'm not perfect. But let me tell you, in that state of enlightenment, I sure as hell was. We were designed to have orgasmic pleasure moving through every single tissue of our body 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The full body orgasm, pleasure, bliss, nirvana, samadhi, enlightenment. Why do you think the Buddha could sit under a tree for 12 hours without moving? It's because his entire body felt so good that the idea of moving didn't even cross his mind. You see, in a state of bliss, in a state of contentment, in a state of real gnosis, ladies and gentlemen, in a state of enlightened consciousness, elevated mind, when you tune in to the truth through the physiological enlightenment process known as Kundalini, you reach states of bliss and enlightenment. However, ladies and gentlemen, you may be saying, but earlier, Brandon, you said that it was so detrimental. It can be detrimental to the mind. You bet. And you know what? Do you want to know when Kundalini becomes detrimental to the mind? Once it wears off. It comes, for the average Westerner, Kundalini moves through his or her system, enlightens them, shows them the truth, and then it resides. The body can't handle it. And usually, the Kundalini awakens in someone to give them a glimpse of the truth so that the individual can be put on a journey to rediscover the truth. I hope that makes sense. Most of us don't have what it takes, or the spiritual responsibilities, mental responsibilities, as well as physical responsibilities. And most of us, including myself, aren't willing to sacrifice everything to have this energy moving through us all the time. It's nowhere near as easy as you may think it is. So to all these people out here going to yoga classes and thinking that they're having these Kundalini experiences and that they're enlightened, you're full of it. I'm so sick of people who think they're enlightened because they do yoga or they go to Kundalini yoga. Let's see you perform a miracle. Because with this energy moving through your system, you can indeed perform miracles, ladies and gentlemen. So, Kundalini is only dangerous because it shows you the truth of what you are. It makes you become the source, and then the energy wears off and you're back down to your conditioned self. And now there's a schism between you and your enlightened self, your higher self. And now there's a struggle between both of those energies. Part of you wants to stay in the bracket of your lower self, and part of you wants to evolve. And now there's a struggle. And this is where Kundalini Psychosis can set in. And that's why I really just want to help people. I know what it's like to go through difficulty trying to integrate, back into reality after you have these heightened states of consciousness. You have these states of consciousness and you can see into the various dimensions, interact with the angels that are always around us. We don't see them anymore though, ladies and gentlemen, because our eyes, just like Jesus in the Bible will say, or says, you have eyes, but you can't even see. You have ears, but you can't even hear. Your senses have been perverted. Your sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and 11th senses are shut off. And now because your metaphysical antennas no longer work properly, ouch, I sit at an angle for too long, it really hurts my back. But your metaphysical antennas, ladies and gentlemen, which were at one point in their upright position, have been turned down. And that, I'm not trying to frighten people. I'm not trying to instill fear in people by saying that we have certain aspects of ourselves dormant. But regardless of whether you hear it from me or not, it's the truth regardless. There exists a part of us that is waiting to wake up. And we can do our best to nourish the causes that create that effect to our higher senses evolving, ladies and gentlemen. Life is so beautiful, and there's so much more to life. People say all the time, oh, it's the simple things in life that are the most beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Appreciate the simple things. Well, I do appreciate the simple things, but I want to appreciate the higher things as well, the more intricate things. And with Kundalini moving through our system, with Kundalini christening our brain and our organs and our tissues and our blood and our bone system, we now come into contact with the SOFs, ladies and gentlemen, SOEFS, SOFs, subtle organizing energy fields. And these are electromagnetic fields that surround our physical body, that hold our protoplasmic corporeal body bound in flesh. This is known as the aura by most occultists or metaphysicians, but I don't think most people have actually even seen their aura. I've seen pictures of depictions of auras in these New Age books where they depict it as like this fog or this like little light ball. Or just like, oh, his aura is green. There's just some green around his aura. Ladies and gentlemen, the aura is a geometrically intricate and perfect third, fourth, and fifth dimensional spherical, gyrating, orbic structure that is a beautiful, intricate lattice work of various different geometrical patterns. And your aura, believe it or not, is an OI system, not an AI system, which means artificial intelligence. The aura behaves like an AI, but in an organic fashion. was looking out to the left the whole time. This light is so damn bright, and I can barely see through these glasses right now, so I thought my camera lens was over there. Let me look into your eyes. The aura behaves like an AI system, like a computer, but it is an operating system that is organic. It's an organic intelligence, excuse me. It's part of your body. It's part of your consciousness. And what I mean by that is that your aura will actually communicate with you. You know, when I was introduced to my aura for the first time during my first Kundalini experience, because it usually shows you your aura. Without enlightenment, you can't really see these energy fields in their complete totality. Some people with psychic stimulation might be able to see certain aspects of them, but to see this chariot, so to speak, in its full form is terrifyingly beautiful. But when my aura came online, it started to spin around me, and it started to, it spun around me continuously, and then it slowed down, and it began to make all these noises that, like a machine spinning and swirling around me. This is so hard to explain without sounding crazy. But it was like an organic machine making all these high-pitched noises as it calibrated itself and found balance, and then it began communicating with me. And it said, "Greetings, welcome to your aura. Magnificent, isn't it?" In this very angelic tone. Now, the aura is so intelligent that it's a part of you and your subconscious and deeper aspects of your mind, your God mind, and it will actually, in my opinion, and this is just a theory, it'll actually manifest and interact with you depending on your interests in the things that you hold dear in your heart. So I've always been interested in like evolution, and maybe I just watched too much Dragon Ball Z when I was younger, and seeing people go Super Saiyan and seeing that energy field around them. But there's some truth to Dragon Ball Z. We do have an electromagnetic field around us that can actually be activated. And there's a lot of symbolism in Dragon Ball Z, the cartoon. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Just as kind of a side subject here. These people are searching the land for 7 Dragon Balls. Some of you guys might not even know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure some of you do. These people are searching the countryside and this land in this cartoon for 7 Dragon Balls. And when they find the 7 Dragon Balls, 7 chakras, it's metaphoric, ladies and gentlemen. The dragon is summoned that grants them wishes. The Kundalini does the same thing. Shenron, the dragon, is summoned when you find the 7 Dragon Balls. Finding the 7 Dragon Balls is metaphoric because the struggles that it took to find the Dragon Balls are a symbolic metaphor of the struggles that you have to go through and the sacrifices that you must make in order to master each of your chakras. A Saiyan essentially is a metaphor for an enlightened human. Let's just put it that way. And those of you who don't watch Dragon Ball Z, I don't watch it anymore. I used to watch it. I thought that stuff was so absolutely awesome when I was younger. Used to drive my family crazy. I used to love that shit. The Kundalini energy is something that has been well known by so many, not only secret societies, but ancient cultures throughout history. I mean, look at the symbolism of ancient Egypt, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the symbolism of ancient Egypt. Let me see if I can find and pull up a picture of the pharaoh's headdress. Or, take a look at the Tutankhamun. Look at the cobra coming out of the forehead. That is known as a uraeus. The cobra symbolizes the mastery of the Kundalini energy. When the Kundalini energy moves up your cerebral spinal system, it nestles in the brain and fuses the divisions of the right and left lobe of the brain. The schism of the male and female self is no longer divided. It becomes fused, and you experience androgynous consciousness. You become the androgyne. This is depicted in so many different alchemical pictures. In alchemical pictures of antiquity, there's so many things right in front of your face that you don't understand. That's all about your physiology. Many of the pictures of, many of the alchemical pictures of antiquity are actually about Kundalini. It's about fusing male and female. And I don't mean that's a spiritual thing. It's not like you become both male and female, but the aspects of your, it's a spiritual thing. I'll talk more about that in the near future. That's a hard thing to explain. Well, let me see if I can find something for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me, I should have had all this stuff laid out before the video, but kind of unorganized. Uraeus. I don't know why pictures of bears come up when I type it into this royalty-free picture service, but it is what it is. I'll tell you guys how to spell it right now if you're interested in looking it up. It is U-R-A-E-U-S. Uraeus. Again, one more time. U-R-A-E-U-S. Now we could go into deep detail about the Kundalini thing, and I would recommend people look into the Gnostic scriptures. I would recommend people look into the Nag Hammadi scriptures that were found in Egypt. And in Gnostic Christianity, and I do consider myself a Gnostic. It's as deep as I'm going to go right now in terms of telling you guys, but I do consider myself a Gnostic, and many of the Gnostics, ladies and gentlemen, don't actually view the snake in the Garden of Eden as the enemy. The snake in the garden offered the apple of Eden, or the red pill. I'm not even going to get into this right now. I'm not. I discuss this in detail on my Patreon page, and if you're interested in learning more about the Gnostic scriptures and some of this more intimate stuff, you can head over to my Patreon page. You get hours and hours and hours of content every month for a very low cost. It's a great investment. It's an investment for your health. But certain things I like to keep personal, and I keep them on the Patreon page. And I go into much greater detail about my personal life as well on that page. So if you're interested in my channel, if you've been watching and considering going over to my Patreon page, if you've been considering becoming a member for quite some time, now's the time to do it, ladies and gentlemen. There's a ton of great information. I believe in the power of my messages, and I do believe that you can benefit from them if you enjoy my channel. So I'm just throwing that out there. But it's been a while since I've made a video directly discussing Kundalini. So we'll do that. On a side note, I've got some pretty legit vitamins here. This is the Pure Synergy brand multivitamin. I have these in my Amazon store. Links in the description below. If you want to buy them through me, through that link, you can check out my Amazon store. I've got hundreds of items available, and if you buy them through me, I get a small percentage of the revenue, and it helps support my channel. This is the Pure Synergy multivitamin, ladies and gentlemen, made with organic vegetables and fruits. It's got vitamin A, C, D3, vitamin E, K, B1, B2, niacinamide, which is vitamin B3, vitamin B6, folate, B12, biotin, pantothenic acid, iodine, zinc, selenium, copper, manganese, chromium, and molybdenum. I like these especially because there's not a huge, massive amount of things in them. And then excuse me, one moment, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Excuse me. So people ask me all the time, do I take a multivitamin every day? No, I don't. I used to. I think you can overdo it with vitamins. I don't think your body needs excessive amounts of vitamins every day. I do think that they have their place, however. I like that these particular vitamins aren't so potent that when you take them, you feel stimulated. I don't think there's been enough research done on the effect of daily vitamin consumption. I think that in moderation, they can be a very good thing, however. That's kind of besides the point, but let's talk a little bit more about Kundalini Psychosis, you guys, because that's a very interesting thing. Now, Kundalini Psychosis is essentially a state of psychosis that is induced after a Kundalini experience. And in my opinion, I have my theories on why this happens. And my theory is that people can't integrate the heightened states of consciousness. They don't know how to understand them from their I'm not going to call it a sober perception, but here in the Matrix, we operate at about 5% of our brain capacity, ladies and gentlemen, and we can barely understand things as it is. So you turn on the brain past 50%, which is what Kundalini does, and you experience these heightened states of consciousness for a set amount of time, and then that consciousness fades away and you come back to your 5% perception. It's like you've fried your circuit board and you've downloaded so much information that now you almost behave like a savant, if you will. This energy is very, very beautiful and very, very interesting and very, very evolutionary, but it's so far it's so much different than what we're used to that I think that even people who are interested in this, if they actually experienced it, would be kind of terrified by it, at least after they come off of it. And most Westerners experience Kundalini and then they come back down to their normal senses because the body hasn't been fortified with health enough to actually be able to handle the electricity of Kundalini moving through the cerebral spinal system. You see, you were designed to be an antenna for the divine. You were designed to walk around this garden as God, non-separated. You were supposed to have union with Source. And what makes you think that having enlightened consciousness is just going to be something easy? Life is difficult enough as it is without enlightenment, without Kundalini. What makes you think that the spiritual journey of evolution and becoming something greater is going to be easy? So a lot of people have Kundalini experiences and they just don't know how to integrate the amount of data that they download. Because I've said it once and I'll say it again. In a 5-second period, you can download more information from Kundalini than you can in a lifetime with your normal senses. And most people won't be able to understand that. And that's okay. It's the truth regardless. It's the truth regardless. Now, another reason why I think people experience Kundalini Psychosis is because when you experience real Kundalini, you become one with Source and you finally feel connected to God. You are literally talking to God or with God when you merge with God through Kundalini. And when you experience those states of consciousness and then you come down off the Kundalini, because there is a come down period for the average Westerner. No, I don't think there's a single Westerner in the United States right now that has this energy moving through him or his or her body 24 hours a day. Again, it moves through the Westerner, shows them the truth, resolves, and then, it puts him or her on a path of self-discovery. Kundalini is very smart. But you feel these heightened states of God intoxication, and then you come down off of them. It's like being disconnected from, I don't even know how to explain it. It's so hard to explain. It's like you just experienced the most bliss that you could ever experience in your life. You felt connected to God. You were talking with God. You received information and mystical information. Excuse me, I think I said information twice. You received mystical insight and knowledge. You learned secrets. And it's so beautiful. It's like biting into the sweetest, most divine fruit that you've never had your whole life. You finally feel like you're being nourished, like you're in the bosom of the Divine Mother. And then when you come down off of it, you're not feeling that anymore. And now you're like depressed because you've experienced the totality of bliss, and now you're not there anymore. You're stuck with your memories of where you were. So for me, ladies and gentlemen, I experienced Kundalini a handful of times in my early 20s, and I went through some Kundalini integration. I don't want to say I went through Kundalini Psychosis, but I did have some difficulty integrating. And what kept me sane during all of this is my faith in God, is my faith in the Mother, the Divine Mother, the Kundalini. What kept me sane through all this is the journey that the Kundalini put me on, where sacrifices had to be made so that I could grow. There were times during this, ladies and gentlemen, where I had hardly any money. And I'm still not a millionaire by a long shot, but things have gotten a little bit better. But money has never really been my forte, just to be completely honest with you. But there were times where I couldn't even afford groceries. I had to ask family for money, or I just had to kind of not necessarily mooch off people, but it was embarrassing, because up until those points in life, I was always very, I don't want to say a go-getter, or I was very different before then. Before my Kundalini experiences, things were better financially. After my Kundalini experiences, I realized that, wow, I just experienced something that's kind of a secret that most people don't know about. And this is like the key of evolution here. I became like a mad scientist. I became an alchemist overnight. And I realized that, okay, I've got to get out of this 9-to-5 thing right now. I've got to scrape up what little money I do have, and I've got to play my cards right. So I would be really weird about groceries and money. I wanted to not have a 9-to-5 job, but I needed to find a way to make decent money at the same time. So I would work freelancing jobs with my brother here and there. I developed a YouTube channel where I could make a little bit of ad revenue. I started little online things where I could pull in money from online sales and stuff like that, and it kept me afloat to the best of my ability. But I remember just having to lean on family a lot, and luckily I had a great family. But what I realized, and I was thinking about this today, was that during all the struggles financially, that really built my character, because it taught me how to fast. It taught me the importance of caloric restriction, because there were times where I didn't have the money to actually buy certain foods that I needed. So because of that, or when I had food, let's put it this way, I had to ration it. And it's not, my family would have taken care of me. If I wanted to, they would have fed me every day, but I wanted to feed myself in a particular way, and I wasn't going to make my family buy all my groceries and my food. So it's like, okay, I'll spend $100. I'll buy a bunch of lentils, some beans, some rice. I'll get myself like a thing of multivitamins. What is, this, I'm just explaining what it was like when I was younger. It's like, okay, 60, I got 30. I would buy like enough food for a month at a time, and I would ration it. And I go, okay, I've got 30 days worth of vitamins here. I've got some lentils over here, and I can save all this stuff and make it as I need it. And I had everything planned out. Every month I would buy myself a nice bag of tea, or maybe some Shilajit powder, or some organic coffee, some certain supplements. And I just became really, really interested in learning. I put away the dire need to just grind hours away at work, which I could have done. I worked at Costco for a little bit. I worked at Walgreens for a little bit. I worked a paint gig. I was a painter for a while, and not like an artist, but painting houses. I did some freelance work. But I really wanted to try to minimize that so that I could study the Kundalini, because the Kundalini told me that this is the most important thing that there is. There's nothing more important than this. The Kundalini showed me what it actually means to be plugged into the matrix, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have any clue how profound that is? The matrix is real. The matrix is real, ladies and gentlemen. You have been turned into something that is not the original blueprint, or, prototype, if you will, of mankind, womankind. You were not designed to be what you currently are. You were designed to be more. Now, to all the people who might say, oh, how dare you say that? You're instilling fear. You're trying to tell people that they're inadequate. No, I'm not. I'm telling you that there's more to life. That growth and evolution is the key of living. It's how nature operates. Man. Whatever. I've been babbling for quite some time. I want to wrap this one up by saying that suffering can build character. I went through a lot of mental, emotional issues, when I was younger. trying to integrate these experiences that I had. I went through some anxiety issues, but what I learned from it is that it was teaching me to be strong. Kundalini exposed me to my weaknesses and put them right in front of my face. It made me acknowledge them, and I'm still learning. You see, everybody wants to have an easy pass in life. Everyone wants to achieve what's at the end of the road without actually going through the process of getting to that destination. Again, everyone wants to arrive at their destination without the journey. I believe that the future will be riddled with Kundalini energy. And I don't mean riddled in a bad way. Kundalini is the ancient lost science of Atlantis, ladies and gentlemen. Kundalini is the ancient lost science of Atlantis. Kundalini was a science that was well understood by the ancient Egyptians. The Greeks were privy to it as well. Native Americans were as well. Excuse me. The Gnostics were aware of this. Again, the Gnostics didn't believe that the serpent in the garden was evil. The serpent was a messenger saying that, hey, you're in a control grid. You're being told that you can't eat this fruit. Why the hell did God just put this fruit right in front of you just to tempt you? What's the point of that? You must not eat this fruit, but I'll put it right in front of you. And apparently, according to the Old Testament, the New Testament, God knows everything. So God knew that Adam and Eve were going to, because it's called divine foresight. The creative forces in the Bible are advertised as knowing everything and what's going to happen before it happens. Therefore, the formulation of Adam and Eve, God knew that they were going to be tempted and take that apple and eat it, which is the red pill in the Matrix films. Trinity is Eve, and Adam is Neo in the Matrix film, and the apple of Eden is the red pill, and the serpent is Morpheus. Wake up, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think that movie was actually about? But the snake said, "Surely you will not die, but you will become as God." Now, in the Gnostic scriptures, and I said I wasn't going to talk too much about this, but we'll dip our tongues a little bit. In the Gnostic scripture, it was said that there was an entity known as the demiurge, and that the demiurge was a jealous god that took over control of the physical world and wanted to enslave humanity because he was a jealous god. Humans, based on the creation story, the demiurge had a mother named Sophia. It's a long story. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but in the Gnostic scriptures, there's the devil, which is known as the demiurge or Adaldabroth, and then there's the true God, which is the monad. Now, according to the Gnostics, and according to many people, the real devil is actually the God of the Old and New Testament. Do you know the God of the Old and New Testament killed more people than the devil? By a long shot. God actually killed more people in the Bible than the devil. Did you know that? The Gnostic scriptures are beautiful, and the Gnostic story is absolutely beautiful. And it's so complicated, and I've been ranting for too long that I'm just going to sound like a fool trying to explain it right now. So we're going to taper down on this rant. If you've made it this far, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I love you all. I hope that my videos and my channel can help inspire you to do something beneficial for your health today, whether that be getting a water filter, a shower filter, and just do something for your health. You have the capability and the power to take forward momentum and action with your health right now, in this very moment. To summarize things, suffering can build character, ladies and gentlemen. Regardless of what it's from, whether it's from Kundalini, whether it's job-related stress, whether it's school-related stress, always remember that diamonds have to go through a lot of pressure before they can become diamonds. Use metaphors like that to macro-impose into your life. Relate to things metaphorically, and you can see things more simply. Peace be with you all. Thank you for watching. I hope that my channel and my messages, my passion, you name it, can inspire you today to take better care of your health. There's nothing more important than taking daily steps towards greater health. Health impacts every part of your life, ladies and gentlemen. Physical, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, you name it. It addresses every part of our lives. Health is indeed the divine foundation that we need to have so that we can achieve the life that we want. This is Lord Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, and I hope that the obstacles in your life, if you have them, can clear, and that you can attain your heart's desire. I do indeed hope that we can achieve a greater state of being here in this world. We weren't designed to have to deal with all this insanity here in this world, and I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that if we take greater steps towards our health and we envision a greater world, we can get closer to achieving that. So I just wanted to wrap this one up with a thank you, and until next time, peace be with you all.